Today we're going to be doing the double kettlebell deadlift. First, I'm going to show you what that looks like, and then second, we'll talk through the points of performance for the kettlebell deadlift, and third, we'll talk about some technique tips to help you have a more successful lift. Okay, so first from the front. And then from the side. Okay, so the first thing we want to have with the kettlebell deadlift is make sure that we have the kettlebell set up between the balls of our feet. We're going to angle the handles so they're in a little bit of a V shape and touching each other in the front. Okay, we want a full foot grip on the floor. That's one of our points of performance, so that the weight is pretty equally and evenly distributed throughout the whole foot. Big toe is also gripping, although we will be pressing primarily through the heel. Okay, shins are going to stay in a vertical position. We're going to maintain a long neutral spine, and we're also going to keep our lats back and down. Throughout the lift, you're going to maintain that full foot contact with the floor, and your hips and shoulders are going to be moving simultaneously. Other than that, we want to think a lot about bracing our abs and keeping a nice tight core throughout the lift. We also want to think about activating and really using our hamstrings and glutes. So we should be feeling the muscle tension and squeezing happening primarily underneath our glutes at the higher aspect of the hamstrings. And we really want to maintain tight, active lats throughout the entire lift. That helps us maintain that nice neutral spine. So from the bottom, as we set up, we're going to grab into the handles, and then I'm going to pull my shoulders actively down and back. You want to think about squeezing like a $100 bill underneath your armpits throughout the entire lift. From there, I'm going to make sure I'm screwing my feet into the floor and I'm getting some good hamstring engagement. I'm going to take a deep breath in through my nose. I'm going to try and breathe deep into my belly, and then I'm going to brace. I'm going to tighten up against that. After that, I'm going to begin my lift by driving the floor away from me with my feet. And as I stand, I'm going to exhale slowly. At the top of the lift, my shoulders should be directly over my hips. My glutes should be very, very, very active. So it should be a very tight and tall position. And here we go. So get down there, handles on the inside, full foot contact, activate those lats. And then on the way back down, I'm going to press those kettlebells, push them slightly back so they go back directly from the start position to the position from which they came, I should say. All right, there is kind of a tendency with newer lifters to have a rounded shoulder, which is going to lead to shoulder flexion, which is going to lead to a really uncomfortable lift that's not healthy. There's also a tendency to let go of that lat engagement on the return part of the lift, which means the kettlebells drift away, which then once again puts a lot of that pressure down in the low back, which is what we really totally want to avoid completely. So we're going to think active lats, hamstrings on, and as we return those bells, we're going to press them back, actively pushing them back with those lats to that start position. Okay. A couple of other quick things. The way that people look when they set up is going to be a little bit different based on hamstring tightness and limb length. Everybody has different limbs. So for somebody who's built a little bit more like me with a longer femur as compared to their torso or their calf, it could be that they need to bring their knees slightly more forward and not completely vertical. Not a completely vertical shin at the bottom of the lift in order to get the right hamstring engagement, because for people who have these long femurs, it's really easy to do a stiff-legged deadlift, and then it all ends up coming out of the low back instead of the hamstring. So that person might need to drop those knees forward a little bit. Let's see here. If they have really super tight hamstrings, getting down into that bottom position might be uncomfortable, and we might need to sort of modify it by raising the elevation of the floor for them. So putting something up underneath it to bring it to where they can feel the hamstring engagement, but not feel it in their low back and not lose that spinal position. The thing that I end up coaching the most is just pulling the armpits back and down to keep those lats engaged. It's really easy for people when they're pulling off the floor to end up here at the top. We don't want that. Our hands are going to stay inside our thighs for sure, but we're going to keep those active lats so we have that nice open chest and broad shoulders. So I think that is the majority of the points of performance and the big tips that we need to be conscious of. And if you have any questions, let me know.